This video is sponsored by Saiku. There's something timeless about a mysterious gunslinger surviving in a lawless frontier. Long before superheroes dominated Hollywood, westerns reigned supreme and revolutionized the film industry. The genre developed an entire visual language, showcasing vast and desolate landscapes governed by frontier rules where, as Sergio Leone puts it, life has no value. The echoes of this genre are everywhere today, responsible for the success of many prestige series, films, and video games, as well as being blended into a myriad of genres. The Last of Us leverages the tropes of the Western film genre to great effect. The reluctant anti-hero traversing a lawless frontier calls back to classic westerns, yet modernizes it by blending it with a post-apocalyptic setting. This genre fusion enables it to leverage the tropes of both genres, but feel fresh and exciting. Blending in the tropes of the Western genre is also one of the reasons that Logan worked so effectively when other X-Men films simply didn't. Early Westerns commonly featured a down-to-earth, noble hero entering a small town and liberating them from local troublemakers.
Your kind of days are over.
My days? What about yours, gunfighter?
In the latter stages of the genre, this was subverted with narratives focusing on an older, more grizzled anti-hero, both of which often live by their own code of ethics. These protagonists share a lot in common with the reluctant private detectives of film noir and wandering ronins of Akira Kurosawa's films. These genres all notably influenced each other, with A Fistful of Dollars being a Western remake of Kurosawa's Yojimbo, which itself was inspired by a noir novel, Red Harvest. The classic Western and samurai film genres influenced each other more than many people realise. The two genres both boomed throughout the 50s and 60s, both being period dramas with a focus on an old and jaded, yet highly skilled outlaw. Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai had already been remade into a Western with The Magnificent Seven, and he was a huge fan of the Western genre, and most especially of director John Ford. Upon watching Fistful of Dollars, though, which was made without Kurosawa's permission, Kurosawa sent director Sergio Leone a letter reading, "Senor Leone, I have just had a chance to see your film. It is a very fine film, but it is my film." They ended up resolving the dispute out of court. While all of these genres greatly influenced each other, there's one more genre that would go on to harness this cinematic history like no other.
Space, the final frontier.
While Star Trek's opening lays bare the potential of space to be a fresh replacement for the backdrop of the American frontier, it was Star Wars that truly leveraged the groundwork of the Western. With its desert landscapes and gritty lived-in world, Star Wars brought bounty hunting and gunslinging to space. The Space Western was born. The Disney Star Wars film trilogy fell flat for many fans, but the newer series feel like a return to form. While Andor is far and away the best Star Wars series yet, the change arguably began with The Mandalorian. It established a formula for the whole franchise to follow and find new success, amplifying what made Star Wars unique in the first place. It was a space western. The gunslinging outlaw has become the default protagonist for Star Wars shows, and the genre tropes of westerns are everywhere, just swapping out train robberies and bank heists for their more futuristic counterparts. This genre has given rise to a whole host of beloved shows, but wasn't the only one to benefit from a sci-fi mashup. Film noir saw its own reinvention through sci-fi with tech noir and cyberpunk, and while Star Wars has effectively borrowed from all these genres to become the powerhouse it is today, there's an anime that has blended all these genres and more into something truly unique. A show that's at once familiar and also completely new. Let us introduce you to the ultimate gateway anime. A classic that shouldn't work, but does. Let us introduce you to Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Set in 2071, Cowboy Bebop follows the lives of a bounty hunter crew traveling on a spaceship called the Bebop. Spike is running away from a mysterious past as a heavy for a powerful syndicate, and he's partnered with a guy called Jet. Jet is an ex-cop who left that life behind after being disillusioned with the nature of justice in this cold universe. Also, he has a robotic arm and loves a headlock. Faye is a hustler and a grifter and a gambling addict, searching for the truth about her past, and trying to have a good time as she goes about it. Finally, Ed. Ed is a gender non-binary hacker / 10-year-old / general odd duck wildcard. Together, this proxy family travel, episode to episode, bounty to bounty, through a wonderful brought-to-life universe not so different from the world we live in today, trying to get enough money to keep fuel in the ship, food in their bellies, and their respective demons one step behind. Oh, and there's some super smart corgi called Iron who hangs around the Bebop too. He's cool. If that sounds insane, you're completely right. On paper, this show makes no sense. A space western to the soundtrack of bebop jazz, with influences of Hong Kong action cinema and John Woo's gun fu. Certain episodes even have sprinklings of blaxploitation, cosmic horror, and urban thriller. To make space the Wild West, whatever future you're dealing with must contain a sense of decline. Star Wars: A New Hope takes place after a more civilized age. Firefly takes place after a failed rebellion. Cowboy Bebop takes place after the Earth is rendered practically uninhabitable, not through war, but through corporate greed and technological hubris. While the Old West in traditional westerns is a frontier, the edge of civilization pushing forwards, space westerns are more often an end of civilization, taking place on the fringes of what remains. The opening to each episode of Cowboy Bebop contains the text, "They must create new dreams and films by breaking traditional styles." The work, which becomes a new genre itself, will be called Cowboy Bebop. Wow, talk about calling your shot. Now, who would ever pay for this to get made?
Gundam, Bandai no Pramodel.
In 1997, toy company Bandai approached famous anime production studio Sunrise, looking for merchandising opportunities. They wanted spaceship stuff to sell spaceship toys. New director Shinichiro Watanabe recalls the only instruction he was given. So long as there's a spaceship in it, you can do whatever you want. What he presented to them had a spaceship in it, but seemed completely insane. It wasn't even intended for kids. How were they going to sell spaceship toys? But then, Bandai Visual came to the party, and they took the gamble. I don't think anyone was aware of how much that would pay off. Not only did Bandai reap the benefits, they also got to take credit for launching Watanabe's stellar directing career, going on to make Samurai Champloo, Terror in Resonance, Kids on the Slope, and Space Dandy, just to name a few. So, if Cowboy Bebop is a little bit of everything, what's the glue that holds it all together? Whilst the tone isn't afraid to slide around, what keeps the show feeling like a single entity is just how effortlessly cool it is. The show is stylish as fuck, and it all starts with Spike. In his slick suit, never hurried, protagonist Spike Spiegel is part Bruce Lee, part the man with no name from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, part hard-boiled detective. The way he moves is cool, the way he talks is cool. The essence of Spike and the show is, what will be, will be. See you over the ridge, Space Cowboy. The whole thing exudes a kind of easy-breezy listlessness, which gives Bebop its edge. In fact, it captures the sense of the in-between. Yeah, big moments. But the almost lo-fi energy of what happens between the big moments is where the show truly shines. There's no coincidence that there's a million Cowboy Bebop lo-fi music mixes on the internet. It just brings this energy. Just simple little things the characters do. Jet tending to his bonsai trees or cooking. Spike practicing his martial arts. Faye shopping. These funny little motifs, tiny little snapshots of what these characters do in their spare/personal time. The slice of life moments work to ground the show in reality. And they often bookend the episodes too, so eating together as a proxy family before being thrust into a new adventure into another character's life, then returning to their mundane hobbies. It reminds us that these characters take everything in their stride, that life is insane. What genre will life be today? That bonsai still needs to get trimmed. It's a Sisyphean message that's delivered in just such an utterly cool way.
Load this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
The iconic intro of Cowboy Bebop establishes the slick feel of the show from the get-go. Now, if it wasn't clear from the name, Cowboy Bebop heavily leverages a bebop jazz soundtrack to perfectly sync with the cool aesthetic the show's going for. And the masterful work of composer Yoko Kanno cannot be overstated. There's an element of timelessness to the score, as it's a throwback to a bygone musical era, but in a futuristic setting. So there's no place where it actually exists, which gives it its unique feel. A mashup of the old and the new. Watanabe's oeuvre, if you will, is that he tends to make shows set to a specific musical style. Samurai Champloo, hip-hop. Terror in Resonance, post-rock. Space Dandy, new wave. And of course, bebop jazz. Watanabe has been quoted as saying, "Music is the language of the world." And for me, this is most true across all of his work in Cowboy Bebop. Interestingly, the music was one of the first aspects to begin production, a highly unusual step in a process like this. Before most of the story, characters, or even animation had been formalized. Kanno and Watanabe were reported to have quite a fraught relationship over the course of the production. Kanno didn't compose exactly how Watanabe asked of her. In fact, Watanabe often was inspired by the music that came first. He would write scenes based off the music that she would gift him. And these subsequent new scenes would in turn inspire Kanno, so then she would write more music and the wonderfully symbiotic cycle would continue. Do yourself a favor. YouTube the seatbelts right now. They are the band Kanno formed to play all the music for Bebop, and have since gone on to release 7 albums. But Cowboy Bebop mashed more than just music and film genres. Its world is a beautiful mashup too. The world of Cowboy Bebop is 1 part Chinese diaspora and 2 parts Wild West with a sprinkling of Middle Eastern influence. You can tell it's Japanese, but it's not strictly Japanese culturally. The Japanese cultural theorist Koichi Iwabuchi argues that many Japanese exports to Western markets are culturally neutral, or culturally odorless, in that the positive image and association of a Japanese culture or way of life is not generally related to the consumption of their cultural products. Especially when compared to, say, American cultural products, which are often all about celebrating and selling a particular way of life. The American dream, American exceptionalism, etc. Particularly in respect to Hollywood blockbusters, which are exported overseas. Many of the characters in Cowboy Bebop are drawn as mokokoseke, which means they are free from any association with particular national, racial, or cultural characteristics. This is why Cowboy Bebop feels so accessible to a Western audience. It manages to blend these cultural boundaries beautifully, making it a highly accessible yet still incredibly original piece of art. What's more, Cowboy Bebop largely sidesteps some of the features of anime we don't love. For example, Faye is an excellent character, and her sexuality is leveraged for story purposes rather than for fan service. This is not a sexist show. Now, it can certainly be argued that Faye's aesthetic is designed from the male gaze, but it never becomes explicit or overt. While Faye's design is that of a femme fatale, she's actually super clumsy, lazy, and selfish. She's a 3-dimensional person with flaws and issues, just like anybody else. Whether she be stealing Jet and Spike's food from the fridge or acting entirely in service to her own self-interests, she always feels real. And even though her design is inherently sexualized, there's no question about that, it is just a feature of her multifaceted personality, and one of the many elements she leverages to her advantage when she needs to. Another great example comes in one of my favorite episodes, and this is when Jet's ex reveals that she left him because he was too controlling. She wanted her independence. Against the Japanese cultural context in the 1990s, culturally odorless or not, it's certainly not nothing. Don't let the high concept action premise fool you. Cowboy Bebop is a character study through and through. We know elements of the primary character's pasts, but so much is left for us to fill in the gaps. But even then, we're still left with enduring questions. Life is not here to provide us with answers. Meaning must be sought by ourselves. And this is one of the most incredible thematic through lines of Cowboy Bebop. It's an existential piece and one which will leave us with many lingering thoughts long after the final credits roll. Because here's the thing, Bebop is a show about carrying weight. The weight of your past, the weight of other people. Spike, Faye, Jet, all running from the past, but their job brings them into contact with people who are facing up to their pasts. We're watching them watch others, and experiencing the others face their past in the context of their own. It's about the emotional distance between those two states. When we finish watching, we feel that it's us who must now carry the weight. It says, hey, welcome to life. We all just gotta carry it. This is one of the ways Cowboy Bebop lingers with you like a dream. For a show that started its life as a means to sell toys, that's incredibly invested in genre building, that delivers as a character piece and as a fun high concept plot vehicle, to also deliver an aesthetic experience as complicated as that, there's really nothing else like it. It takes a perfect storm and some incredibly rare talent to blend so much into one cohesive work. Cowboy Bebop feels like lightning in a bottle. While there are plenty of shows that leverage rich cinema history to blend genres, Cowboy Bebop stands alone as a work of art. If you've never seen it, this is a great gateway anime and will set the bar very, very high. We've got some more recommendations, but first, a quick word from the sponsor who made this video possible. If you love Cowboy Bebop as much as we do, check out this brand new range of officially licensed Cowboy Bebop merch from Saiku. These are serious anime fans who truly love Cowboy Bebop, and they have put a lot of love, dedication, and care into this project. There's a wide array of awesome merch, from iron bucket hats to tank tops featuring the whole crew. The full range launches at Saiku on February 14th, 2023, but if you want a special deal, there is a limited time offer to get a special bespoke Spike Spiegel windbreaker. The Spike Windbreaker is an exciting piece of iconic 90s style, emulating Spike Spiegel's signature look. These jackets will only be produced once and will be made to order, accompanied by a certificate of authenticity. Hit the link in the description to pre-order the Spike Spiegel Windbreaker for a discount of up to 15%. However, this offer is only available to February 14th. These jackets are made to order and will not be available after February 20th, 2023. If you're watching this video outside of those dates, don't worry. There's still plenty of other awesome Cowboy Bebop merch by Saiku you can purchase by hitting this link. Head over to Saiku's website to check out their full range of Cowboy Bebop merch. If you're looking for more space western anime, definitely check out Trigun. If you love Star Wars and want an epic space opera, check out Legend of the Galactic Heroes, ideally the 1980s version. We've actually got a whole podcast episode about sci-fi anime with even more recommendations that we've linked in the description. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It all helps. If you want to follow our social media, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok. You can always visit our website at gatewaytoanime.com. If you really enjoyed this content and want to help us keep making it, you can head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/gatewaytoanime. Thanks so much. See you, Space Cowboy.